going on, guys? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman. Coming up on today's show, we got the top 5 quarterbacks that could replace Kirk Cousins after he was signed by the Atlanta Falcons to a 4-year, $180 million deal. It was a mega deal. Kirk clearly showed where his priorities are in his life, and he continues to chase the money. But first, I do want to start off with a couple of moves that the Vikings did make after they signed Kirk Cousins. They brought home the hometown kid who grew up in Minnesota, played his college ball for the Minnesota Gophers, Blake Casham, and they signed the linebacker to a 3-year, $25.5 million deal. And I'm a fan of Casham's game. Last season, in 14 games played, he had over 100 tackles, and I think he's going to offer a great kind of yin and yang to Ivan Pace for that linebacker group for Minnesota. Obviously, Pace came on the scene strong last year, and he crushed it, but having him next to Blake Casham, the Vikings are getting more young. They're getting more athletic on the defensive side of the football, and this dude's a playmaker. 9 TFLs, 5 PBUs, and an interception as well for him in 14 games. He comes back home to Minnesota, but it wasn't just that. The Vikings also made another move at the edge department, bringing in Andrew Van Ginkle to a 2-year, $20 million deal. Up to $14 million of that is guaranteed. This was after the Vikings did bring in Jonathan Grenard for a 4-year, $78 million deal. So it looks like the edge department, it's all good now. And that also means that most likely Danielle Hunter will be leaving and going to another team in free agency. But Andrew Van Ginkle, he does it all. And he will play almost every position this upcoming season for the Minnesota Vikings. We've obviously know defensive coordinator Brian Flores, his favorite word when describing, defensive players is versatility. Andrew Van Ginkle is the definition of versatility. 69 tackles, 8 TFLs, 6 sacks, had an interception, had a fumble recovery. He can truly play any place on the football field. And my overall kind of take is after Kirk Cousins did go to the Atlanta Falcons, the Vikings clearly wanted to get younger and more talented on the defensive side of the football. And I completely agree, because if you look at where the division is going right now, Caleb Williams is going to end up with the Chicago Bears. Jared Goff and that Lions offense will continuously be one of the top 5 offenses in the NFL for the next couple of seasons. The Green Bay Packers, they look like they have another franchise quarterback and a ton of young weapons. Actually did get Josh Jacobs as well today. So the Vikings needed more talent on that side of the football, and they got it. They got younger. They got faster. Overall, I love the moves that the Vikings did make. But let's go back to Kirk Cousins here and get into some replacements. This was the official contract details for Kirk, broken down by Tom Pelissero. It's a 4-year. I was shocked when I heard that news, that Kirk signed a 4-year deal. I thought it was going to be 2. I thought it was going to be maybe 3 years max, but he signs 4 for $180 with a $50 million signing bonus, and it's just another massive payday for Kirk Cousins, who's been playing on guaranteed deals for the last 9 years in the NFL. And it gets me to this point. Even if the Vikings go out, and let's just say they trade for Justin Fields or they get a more proven starter in the NFL, you still need to draft a quarterback. There is no doubt in my mind that the Vikings, whether it's they're staying at 11 or I would go, you trade up in the NFL draft and you go get your guy. Maybe it's a guy like Caleb Williams. Maybe it's a guy like J.J. McCarthy, Drake Maye, Jayden Daniels. One of those guys, I would be incredibly interested in that. Obviously, the Minnesota Vikings, they got a lot of decisions to make. I just don't really know what sort of, direction we are truly going to go here at the quarterback spot. But Kirk Cousins, he is going to Atlanta, and maybe it could be one of these 5 guys that ends up in Minnesota. No real chance that I think the Vikings get Caleb Williams. Obviously, I don't think the Bears are going to give up that pick. I think they're going to take him. Drake Maye, 21 years old. Maybe he falls in this draft class, and you go trade up with the New York Giants, maybe at 6 to go get him. J.J. McCarthy, we'll get to him here in a second. But Jayden Daniels, another intriguing option. And Michael Penix, I threw him on here because he could be an option for the Vikings. If they don't decide to trade up, they could draft him at 11th overall. But my number 1 guy in this whole class is J.J. McCarthy. I've been in this camp for a while here on the channel. And the main reason for J.J. and why I'm so intrigued with him is just the unknown factor around his game, because I think a lot of people just kind of look at the stats. They look at the semifinal, they look at the championship game stats, and they say, why would any team ever go trade up for a guy like J.J. McCarthy? Why would he be a top 5 pick? Well, people forget he is an elite prospect. He was a top 40 player coming out of high school. He was a top 5 quarterback. He was a 5-star recruit, and he's won at every level. He had a 36-2 record in high school as a starter. Follow that up in college, 29-1. 2 state championships in high school, a national championship in college, and also the intangibles with him. Behind the podium, in front of a mic, on the whiteboard, J.J. McCarthy is by far the best in this year's draft class. And like I kind of mentioned before, the unknown around McCarthy intrigues me so much. He's got the unreal talent, and Michigan didn't really ask him to do too much last season. And I think people just think about it like this, where they say, oh, J.J. wasn't asked to throw the ball downfield. He just can't throw the ball downfield. That's just not true. Go look at his highlights at IMG. Dude was an absolute baller. So JJ is still my number 1 quarterback in this year's draft class. But if you guys want the Vikings to draft a quarterback, maybe this is your way of sending the Vikings front office a message. Drop a like on today's video. Let's see if we can blow it up. Get it to 1,000 likes. Send a message to the Vikings front office. If you want a young and hungry quarterback here in Minnesota, let's dive into 5 non-draft options that could be QB1 for the Vikings. And number 1, rumors are swirling out there, Justin Fields. Obviously, Russell Wilson went to Pittsburgh. Kirk Cousins went to Atlanta. Those were the 2 teams that were really in on Fields, and now he's just out there on the market. At 25 years old, this dude, he is a boomer bust guy in my opinion. And listen, he has the dual threat ability, no doubt, but his passing stats is what concerns me the most about Justin Fields because the completion percentage sitting around 60% in his career, touchdown to interception ratio, obviously not where you want it to be. And the question is with Fields, when it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and you got to make a play from the pocket, can you hit your target on time and with, great accuracy? And, that's where the question marks are with Fields. But the thing that intrigues me the most is his dual threat ability and his rushing ability because Fields, no doubt, he probably is, him or Lamar Jackson, pick your poison, probably the best dual threat quarterbacks in the National Football League. But the dude can absolutely light it up. He is an absolute playmaker. He can make edge rushers miss even if they come free in the pocket. But the big question is around Fields and the Vikings because, a lot of people started connecting some dots here after the first day of free agency. Is like, truly, where is Justin Fields going to go? And I think it gets to this. Would the Bears be willing to trade Justin Fields in the division to the Minnesota Vikings and play him twice a year? Could you imagine week 1, Justin Fields in a Vikings uniform, Caleb Williams in a Bears uniform? That game would be on Sunday Night Football. It would be a ton of fun to watch, but that's definitely the biggest kind of holdup in a Fields trade to Minnesota is just would Chicago want to send him in the division? Next up here is Sam Darnold at 26 years old. And listen, Sam Darnold's an interesting option, man, because I do think Sam Darnold's one of those guys. He could be a bridge quarterback, and he could also, potentially win you some games if you put the right pieces around him. But the stats aren't pretty the way he started his career. In 56 starts, he's only got 63 touchdowns and exactly 56 interceptions, and the completion percentage isn't pretty either on his standpoint. But I like Darnold. He's an interesting option. He was obviously with the Niners last season, so he's gotten good tutelage and he's gotten good coaching from obviously Kyle Shanahan and the crew over there. And there's also a lot of smoke around Darnold to Minnesota. It was actually Diana Rossini who said Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold are 2 quarterbacks that the Vikings could be going after. I could see it definitely. If I had to choose my number 1 option of who I think is going to be QB1 and literally taking the opening snap for the Vikings next season, I actually think it's probably going to be Sam Darnold. But number 3 on my list, Tyrod Taylor, a little bit of an older option, and this would just be a true bridge guy. I'm a fan of Tyrod. I actually think Tyrod's a guy, like if he started all 17 games for the Vikings next season, I think he could win you maybe 7 to 10 games. Obviously, you won't have Super Bowl aspiration, but Tyrod's a good player, and he was pretty damn good for the Giants last season. Obviously, stats aren't going to blow you away. He does have that dual threat ability, which I do like in his game, but 64.5% completion percentage, 1,300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Overall, Tyrod, I think it would be the best bridge quarterback option out there as it stands right now. Give me Tyrod in Minnesota and go draft a quarterback like J.J. McCarthy. That's probably my dream scenario as it stands right now. But, hey, if the Vikings do bring in one of these guys, I promise you we will have a video on the channel. So if we get any updates around the Vikings, we will make a video. I was making a video in the bathroom yesterday because we got a report from Rossini that Kirk may be on his way out. Turns out he was. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, lock us in, and turn on those notifications. Number 4 on my list. Jacoby Brissett, another fantastic bridge option for the Minnesota Vikings. And truly, I think Brissett is honestly one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. He had a great year for the Cleveland Browns back in 2022 when he was filling in for Deshaun Watson. And listen, stats aren't going to blow you away by any means, but what people talk about when they talk about Brissett is just the overall leader and the overall great dude he is in the locker room. And that's somebody who I would want to bring in and have and be a mentor for a quarterback. I think no doubt the Vikings are going to draft one. Brissett would be a great bridge for this club. Jameis Winston, last on my list. Coming in at 30 years old, Jameis would be definitely the most fun option out of these 5 on screen right now, because obviously he is Mr. 30 and 30. Threw for 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions in a season, but he has been with New Orleans over the past couple of seasons under Drew Brees and Sean Payton for a year, so he's definitely gotten a lot of experience, and he's had a lot of smart minds around him, which I like. But again, with this move, I wouldn't really want Jameis as a mentor or a bridge guy for a young quarterback. Yeah, I'll tell you what, Justin Jefferson might go for 2,000 yards if Jameis is the QB, but Vikings probably go 6 and 11. We have also been getting rumors around Zach Wilson, possibly the Minnesota. It's actually from Rossini as well. I would be completely out on Wilson. If you're going to take a chance on maybe a young quarterback who didn't work out and was a high draft pick, I would rather go a guy like Trey Lance. You go off for the Cowboys. Maybe it's Harrison Smith. Maybe it's a 5th-round pick. But go get a guy like Trey Lance. I would rather take a chance on him than take a chance on Zach Wilson. I just think he's, I just don't really think he's a good leader. I don't really think the guys in the locker room look at him as like a guy that they want to go to war with. And plus, he's just not that good. I mean, look at the stats right there. He has just been terrible in the NFL so far. But I want to get you guys involved here to close out today's show. Right now, who do you think will be QB1 in Minnesota next season? Who is taking that snap under center, in the shotgun, whatever it may be, for the Vikings when week 1 rolls around? I honestly think right now, if I had to call it, I'd probably go Sam Darnold. I think I'm going to go Sam Darnold and a rookie quarterback. That's what's going to make up the Vikings quarterback room. But you guys, let me know down below. And always, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed here to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching today's show. And thank you for everybody who tuned in to our live show earlier today. Shout out to all of you guys. Shout out to Allie Barefoot for producing this video. Show her some love down in the comment section as well. See you guys next time. Let's go Vikes.